Detective Marcus Stone stepped out of his black police car and looked up at the tall courthouse building. The morning sun made the windows shine like gold. He straightened his blue uniform and checked his badge. Today was supposed to be easy. Just another hearing where nothing would happen to him. Stone had been a police officer for 22 years. He knew how the system worked. He knew the right people. He had friends in high places. The complaints against him would disappear like they always did. Some people said he was too rough with suspects. Others said he treated black people badly. Stone did not care what people said. He walked through the metal doors of the courthouse. His heavy boots made loud sounds on the marble floor. Other people moved out of his way. Some looked scared. Stone liked that. Fear meant respect in his mind. The security guard at the front desk knew him well. "Morning, Detective Stone," the guard said with a nervous smile. "Morning, Jimmy," Stone replied. He did not smile back. Stone never smiled much anymore. Life had made him hard and angry. Stone took the elevator to the 3rd floor. The hallway was full of people. Lawyers in expensive suits walked quickly with their briefcases. Families sat on wooden benches waiting for their cases to be called. Some people cried quietly. Others looked worried. Stone found the right courtroom and pushed open the heavy door. Inside the room was almost full. The judge's chair was empty, but court would start soon. Stone saw his lawyer, Mr. Davis, sitting at a table near the front. "Marcus, good to see you," Mr. Davis said as Stone sat down. Davis was a thin man with gray hair and thick glasses. He had gotten Stone out of trouble many times before. "How does it look?" Stone asked quietly. "Good, very good," Davis whispered. "The witnesses are not strong. The evidence is weak. Judge Morrison likes police officers. I think we can make this go away." Stone nodded. This was what he expected to hear. He had been through this before. Someone would complain. There would be a hearing. Then everything would be forgotten. It was always the same story. Across the courtroom, Stone noticed a black woman sitting in the back row. She wore a dark blue suit and had her hair pulled back neatly. She was writing notes in a small book. Stone wondered why she was there. She did not look like a criminal or someone with a case. The woman looked up and their eyes met for a moment. Stone felt something strange. Most people looked away when he stared at them. But this woman did not look away. She looked right back at him with calm, steady eyes. Then she went back to writing in her book. "Who is that woman in the back?" Stone asked his lawyer. Davis turned around to look. "Oh, that's Dr. Amelia Richardson. She's the new member of Parliament. She won the election last month. She used to be a lawyer before she went into politics." Stone's face got red. He had heard about Dr. Richardson on the news. She was always talking about police reform and changing how officers did their jobs. She said police officers needed more training. She said there should be more punishment for bad cops. Stone hated politicians like her. "What is she doing here?" Stone asked, his voice getting louder. "Keep your voice down," Davis warned. "She's probably here to watch court cases. Politicians do that sometimes. She's working on some new law about police oversight." Stone's hands made fists. He did not like being watched. He did not like people studying him like he was some kind of problem to be solved. Officers like him kept the streets safe. People like Dr. Richardson just made their jobs harder. More people came into the courtroom. Stone recognized some faces. There was Detective Johnson from his station. There was Captain Williams, his boss. They both nodded at him. Stone felt better knowing his fellow officers were there to support him. The court clerk, an older woman with white hair, stood up. "All rise for the Honorable Judge Morrison," she announced loudly. Everyone in the courtroom stood up. Judge Morrison entered through a door behind his desk. He was a big man with a white beard. Stone had appeared before him 3 times before. Each time Judge Morrison had been fair to police officers. "You may be seated," Judge Morrison said. His deep voice filled the room. As people sat down, Stone looked back at Dr. Richardson again. She was still writing in her book. What was she writing about? Was she writing about him? The thought made Stone angry. The hearing was about to begin. Stone's lawyer had told him it would be simple. The family of a young black man claimed Stone had used too much force during an arrest. They said Stone had hurt the man without reason. Stone remembered the arrest differently. The suspect had been difficult and dangerous. Stone had done what was necessary to protect himself and others. The clerk called Stone's case number. This was it. Time to get this nonsense over with. Stone stood up and walked to the front of the courtroom with his lawyer. As they walked, Stone could feel Dr. Richardson's eyes on his back. He turned around quickly and saw her watching him. She was not writing anymore. She was just watching and listening to everything that happened. Stone felt his anger growing. Politicians like her thought they knew better than real police officers. They sat in their safe offices and made rules for people who risked their lives every day. Soon, Stone thought, he would show everyone what he really thought about people like Dr. Amelia Richardson. The hearing started badly for the family making the complaint. Their main witness, Mrs. Garcia, was nervous and scared. She had seen Stone arrest the young man, but when the defense lawyer asked her questions, she got confused and mixed up her words. "Are you sure about what you saw?" Mr. Davis asked Mrs. Garcia. "It was dark that night, wasn't it?" "Well, yes, but I had my porch light on," Mrs. Garcia said quietly. "But you were inside your house looking through a window, correct?" "Yes, but I could see through a window at night from far away." "And you're telling this court you know exactly what happened?" Mrs. Garcia looked down at her hands. "I think so." Stone smiled a little. Davis was doing a good job. The witness was falling apart. Stone looked back at Dr. Richardson. She was writing in her book again, but her face showed she was not happy with how the witness was being treated. The hearing continued for 2 hours. The family's lawyer tried to show that Stone had used too much force. But without strong witnesses or clear video, it was hard to prove. Judge Morrison asked a few questions, but he seemed bored. Finally, Judge Morrison hit his wooden hammer on the desk. "We will take a 30-minute break," he announced. "Court will continue at 11:30. People started leaving the courtroom. Stone felt good. The case was going his way. In 30 minutes, this would all be over. He could go back to work and forget about this trouble. Stone walked out into the hallway with Detective Johnson. "Looks like you're going to be fine," Johnson said, patting Stone on the back. "Of course I am," Stone replied. "These people don't understand police work. They think we can arrest bad guys with kind words and flowers." Both men laughed. They walked toward the water fountain at the end of the hall. Other people were scattered around the hallway. Some sat on benches. Others stood in small groups, talking quietly. Stone was drinking water when he saw Dr. Richardson walk out of the courtroom. She was alone, still carrying her small book and a black briefcase. She moved with confidence like someone who belonged everywhere she went. "Look at that," Stone said to Johnson, pointing at Dr. Richardson. "The politician is here to watch us work." "That's the new MP, right?" Johnson asked. "I heard she's trouble for cops." "Yeah, that's her, Dr. Amelia Richardson. She thinks she knows how to do our job better than we do." Dr. Richardson walked past them toward the ladies' room. As she passed, Stone spoke loud enough for her to hear. "Some people have too much time on their hands. They should mind their own business instead of watching other people do real work." Dr. Richardson stopped walking. She turned around slowly and looked at both officers. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent. "Excuse me, officers," she said politely. "I believe you were talking about me." Johnson looked uncomfortable. He had not expected her to confront them. "I'm Dr. Richardson," she said, walking closer to them. "I'm here as part of my duties as a member of Parliament. I observe court cases to better understand how our justice system works." Stone did not like her tone. She sounded too confident, too educated. "And what exactly do you think you're learning?" he asked, his voice getting harder. "I'm learning a lot," Dr. Richardson replied. "I'm learning about how cases are presented, how witnesses are treated, how justice is served or not served." "Justice is being served just fine," Stone said, stepping closer to her. "We catch the bad guys. The courts decide what happens to them. Simple." "It's not always that simple," Dr. Richardson said calmly. "Sometimes the system makes mistakes. Sometimes innocent people get hurt. Sometimes people who should be held accountable are not." Stone's face got red. "Are you saying I'm not accountable?" "I'm saying the system needs to work for everyone equally. That's why we need oversight. That's why we need reform." Other people in the hallway were starting to notice the conversation. They moved closer, pretending to read notices on the wall or drink from the water fountain, but really listening to what was being said. "Reform," Stone said, almost spitting the word. "You politicians love that word. You want to reform everything until nothing works anymore." "I want to improve things," Dr. Richardson said. "I want to make sure police officers do their jobs properly and fairly. Most officers are good people who want to help their communities, but some are not." Stone knew she was talking about him. lady. You don't know anything about police work. You've never been on the streets. You've never faced a dangerous criminal. You just sit in your office and make rules for people who do the real work. Actually, I was a civil rights lawyer for 10 years before I became an MP, Dr. Richardson said. I've worked with police officers. I've seen good policing and bad policing. I know the difference. A lawyer, Stone laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. That's even worse. You defended criminals against cops like me. I defended people's rights. Sometimes that meant defending people against officers who broke the law. The hallway was getting more crowded. Court officers, lawyers, and regular citizens were all watching the argument between the police detective and the member of parliament. Some people had their phones out, ready to record if things got worse. Detective Johnson pulled on Stone's arm. Come on, Marcus. Let's go get some coffee. Court starts again soon, but Stone did not want to leave. He was angry now. This woman represented everything he hated about the modern world. Politicians who thought they were smarter than everyone else. People who questioned police officers instead of supporting them. Outsiders who wanted to change a system that had worked fine for years. You know what your problem is? Stone said, pointing his finger at Dr. Richardson. You think you're better than us. You think your fancy education and your political job make you special. But when trouble comes, who do you call? You call us. You call the police. You're right, Dr. Richardson said calmly. When there's trouble, people call the police. That's why it's so important that police officers do their jobs correctly. People trust you with their safety. That's a big responsibility. Don't lecture me about responsibility, Stone said, his voice getting louder. I've been protecting this community for over 20 years. Where were you 20 years ago? I was in law school studying how to protect people's constitutional rights. More people were gathering now. Someone had called building security. 2 security guards were walking quickly down the hall toward the argument. Stone saw the guards coming and knew he should stop talking. But he was too angry to think clearly. This woman had made him look bad in front of his fellow officer in a crowd of people. She had questioned his methods and his integrity. She had suggested he was the kind of bad cop who needed to be reformed. Constitutional rights, Stone said mockingly. That's just lawyer talk for letting criminals get away with crimes. No, Dr. Richardson said, her voice still calm but stronger now. Constitutional rights are what separate us from countries where police can do whatever they want to, whoever they want. They're what make us a democracy instead of a police state. That was too much for Stone. Being compared to police in a dictatorship made him furious. He stepped even closer to Dr. Richardson, close enough that she had to look up to meet his eyes. You think you're so smart with your big words and your fancy ideas? Stone said. But you don't know anything about the real world. The security guards were almost there. Detective Johnson was pulling harder on Stone's arm. Dr. Richardson stood perfectly still, not backing away from the angry police officer who was now standing very close to her. And that was when Stone made the biggest mistake of his life. Dr. Richardson looked directly at Detective Stone. She did not step back even though he was standing very close to her. Her voice remained calm and professional. Detective Stone, she said, I've been reviewing some statistics about your precinct. In the past 3 years, there have been 47 complaints of excessive force. 32 of those complaints involved African American suspects. Your unit has the highest complaint rate in the city. The hallway became very quiet. Everyone was listening now. Dr. Richardson continued speaking in the same calm voice, as if she were giving a presentation in a meeting room instead of facing an angry police officer. The settlement costs for your precinct have increased by 200% in the past 5 years. The city has paid over $3 million to settle cases involving officers from your unit. That money comes from taxpayers. Stone's face turned red, then purple. His hands started shaking. No one had ever spoken to him like this in public. No one had ever thrown numbers and facts at him like weapons. Your case today involves allegations of excessive force against 18-year-old Marcus Washington. This is not the first time your name has appeared on such allegations. In fact, it's the 7th time in 4 years. People in the hallway were pulling out their phones. Some were recording video. Others were taking pictures. Dr. Richardson seemed to know exactly what she was doing. She was creating a public record of this conversation. Detective Johnson tried again to pull Stone away. Marcus, let's go. Court starts in 10 minutes. But Stone was not listening to his partner anymore. He was only hearing Dr. Richardson's voice listing facts about his career. Facts that made him look bad. Facts that suggested he was the problem everyone was talking about. These are not just numbers, Dr. Richardson continued. Each complaint represents a person, a family, a community member who felt they were treated unfairly by someone who took an oath to protect and serve them. Shut up, Stone said quietly. Dr. Richardson did not stop. The pattern suggests a systemic problem that needs to be addressed through better training, better oversight, and stronger accountability measures. Shut up, Stone said louder. The security guards were now standing right behind Stone, but they were not sure what to do. Dr. Richardson was not threatening anyone. She was just talking. Stone was the one who looked dangerous. Officer Stone, I understand that police work is difficult and dangerous. Most officers do their jobs with honor and professionalism. But when officers cross the line, there must be consequences. That's how we maintain public trust. Stone could not take it anymore. This woman was destroying his reputation in front of dozens of people. She was making him look like a criminal instead of a police officer. She was using her education and her position to embarrass him. Without thinking, without any control, Stone raised his right hand and slapped Dr. Richardson hard across her left cheek. The sound echoed through the hallway like a gunshot. That's what I think of your statistics and your oversight, Stone shouted. You uppity. Stone started to say a terrible word, a racial slur that he had kept inside for years. But before he could finish, the security guards grabbed his arms. Dr. Richardson stumbled back one step from the force of the slap. A red mark appeared on her cheek immediately. But she did not fall down. She did not cry out. She did not run away. She just stood there looking at Stone with the same calm eyes she had before. The hallway exploded with noise. People were shouting. Phones were recording everything. Someone screamed. Detective Johnson was yelling at Stone to calm down. The security guards were trying to control Stone, who was still struggling and shouting. Get your hands off me, Stone yelled at the guards. I'm a police officer. Not anymore, you're not, one of the guards said as they held his arms behind his back. Court officers came running from the courtroom. Judge Morrison himself appeared in the doorway, trying to see what was happening. Lawyers and citizens pressed against the walls to stay out of the way. Dr. Richardson touched her cheek gently. The red mark was getting darker. In a few hours it would be a bruise, but her voice was still steady when she spoke. I'm fine, she said to the people who were asking if she needed help. I don't need a doctor. A court officer approached her. Ma'am, do you want to press charges? Dr. Richardson looked at Stone, who was still being held by the security guards. He was breathing hard and his face was covered with sweat. His career as a police officer was over and he knew it. Yes, Dr. Richardson said. I do want to press charges. But first I would like to address the court. Judge Morrison stepped forward. Dr. Richardson, you've been assaulted. You should get medical attention. Your Honor, I'm fine. The injury is minor. But I would like to make a statement to the court before this goes any further. It will only take 4 minutes. Stone was still struggling against the security guards. You can't let her speak. This is not a trial. She's not a lawyer in this case. But Judge Morrison was looking at Dr. Richardson with respect and concern. A member of Parliament had just been assaulted in his courthouse by a police officer who was already facing charges. This was now a much bigger problem than a simple excessive force hearing. Dr. Richardson, Judge Morrison said, you have the right to make a statement. But first, let's get Detective Stone out of here. Wait, Dr. Richardson said. She looked directly at Stone. I think Detective Stone should hear what I have to say. In fact, I think everyone should hear it. The crowd in the hallway was growing larger. People from other courtrooms had heard the commotion and came to see what was happening. News reporters who had been covering other cases were now focusing their cameras on Dr. Richardson. Judge Morrison made a decision. Everyone back to the courtroom. Now, Dr. Richardson, you'll have your 4 minutes. As the crowd moved back into the courtroom, Stone realized that something had changed. Before, he was just a police officer facing minor charges that would probably be dropped. Now he was a police officer who had assaulted a member of Parliament in front of dozens of witnesses. The security guards walked him back into the courtroom. His legs felt weak. His hands were shaking. For the first time in his 22-year career, Detective Marcus Stone was scared. Dr. Richardson walked behind them, her head held high despite the red mark on her face. She was carrying her briefcase in one hand and her small notebook in the other. Stone did not know it yet, But those items contained information that would destroy not just his career, but his entire future. The 4 minutes that were about to begin would be the longest and most devastating 4 minutes of Stone's life. And Dr. Amelia Richardson was just getting started. The courtroom filled quickly. Word spread fast through the courthouse that a police officer had slapped a member of Parliament. People who had been in other courtrooms, lawyers waiting for their cases, and court staff all crowded in to see what would happen next. Judge Morrison took his seat behind the big wooden desk at the front of the room. His face was serious and angry. In 30 years as a judge, he had never seen a police officer assault anyone in his courthouse, especially not a government official. "Bailiff, please clear some space," Judge Morrison said in his deep voice. "Everyone who is not part of this case, please find a seat or leave the courtroom." But nobody left. This was the most exciting thing that had happened in the courthouse in years. People squeezed together on the wooden benches. Some stood along the walls. The news reporters pushed to the front, holding their cameras and recording devices. Dr. Richardson walked calmly to the front of the courtroom. The red mark on her cheek was getting darker. It would definitely be a bruise by tomorrow. But she moved like nothing had happened. Her back was straight. Her head was high. She looked confident and in control. Detective Stone was sitting at his lawyer's table, but now he had security guards standing right behind him. His hands were shaking so badly that he had to hold them together in his lap. Sweat was running down his face. Mr. Davis, Stone's lawyer, looked sick. He knew his client had just destroyed any chance of winning this case. Worse than that, Stone had created a much bigger problem. Assaulting a member of Parliament was a serious crime. This would be on the news tonight, maybe even national news. "Your Honor," Mr. Davis said, standing up slowly. "My client is obviously under a lot of stress. Perhaps we could take a longer break so everyone can calm down." "Sit down, Mr. Davis," Judge Morrison said firmly. "Dr. Richardson has requested to make a statement, and I'm going to let her make it." Judge Morrison looked at Dr. Richardson. "Dr. Richardson, before you speak, I want to ask you again if you need medical attention. We can call an ambulance." "Thank you, Your Honor, but I'm fine," Dr. Richardson replied. "I've been hurt worse than this in my law practice. What just happened to me is nothing compared to what happens to ordinary citizens who don't have my education, my position, or my platform to fight back." She opened her black briefcase and took out a thick folder full of papers. Then she opened her small notebook and flipped through several pages. The courtroom was completely quiet. Everyone was watching her every move. "Your Honor," Dr. Richardson said, "I came here today as part of my duties as an MP. I've been observing court cases across the city to understand how our justice system works. But I also came here today because I've been investigating Detective Stone and his unit for the past 3 months." Stone's face went white. His lawyer grabbed his arm to keep him from standing up. 3 months? Judge Morrison asked. "Yes, Your Honor. As part of my work on police oversight legislation, I've been reviewing complaint records, settlement payments, and case files from across the city. Detective Stone's unit caught my attention because of their unusually high number of complaints and the large amount of money the city has paid to settle lawsuits against them." Dr. Richardson held up the thick folder. "This contains copies of 47 citizen complaints filed against Detective Stone's unit in the past 3 years. 32 of these complaints were filed by African American citizens. 21 complaints named Detective Stone specifically. The courtroom was so quiet you could hear people breathing." Stone was staring at the folder like it contained poison. "Your Honor, I also have copies of internal affairs reports, witness statements that were never used in court, and medical records of people who claim they were injured by Detective Stone." Stone's lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, this is not appropriate. Dr. Richardson is not a prosecutor in this case. She can't just present evidence that hasn't been reviewed." "Mr. Davis," Judge Morrison said, "your client just assaulted a member of Parliament in my courthouse. She has the right to explain why this happened and what it means. Please sit down." Dr. Richardson continued. "Your Honor, what happened to me a few minutes ago was not random. It was not just one police officer having a bad day. It was the result of years of unchecked power, racial bias, and a system that has failed to hold officers accountable for their actions." She opened the folder and pulled out a photograph. "This is Marcus Washington, the 18-year-old whose case brought Detective Stone to court today. Marcus weighs 140 pounds. He has no criminal record. He was walking home from his job at a grocery store when Detective Stone arrested him. Dr. Richardson held up the photograph so everyone could see it. It showed a young black man with a swollen face and bandaged hands. Detective Stone claimed that Marcus resisted arrest and posed a threat, but security camera footage from a nearby business shows Marcus with his hands up, trying to cooperate, while Detective Stone struck him repeatedly with his baton. Stone tried to stand up, but the security guards pushed him back down in his chair. "Your Honor," Dr. Richardson said, "I have the security camera footage. I also have medical records showing that Marcus suffered a broken nose, 2 cracked ribs, and a concussion. I have witness statements from 3 people who saw the arrest and say Marcus never resisted or threatened Detective Stone." The news reporters were writing furiously in their notebooks. Camera operators were making sure they captured every word. This was becoming the biggest news story of the week. "Dr. Richardson," Judge Morrison said, "why didn't this evidence come out during today's hearing?" "Because, Your Honor, the witnesses were afraid to testify. Detective Stone and other officers visited them at their homes and told them to stay quiet. The security camera footage was never requested by the prosecutor's office, and Marcus Washington's family could not afford a lawyer good enough to fight the city's legal team." Dr. Richardson walked closer to Judge Morrison's desk. "Your Honor, what Detective Stone did to me today is exactly what he has been doing to ordinary citizens for years. The only difference is that I have the power and the platform to fight back. Most of his victims do not." She looked directly at Stone. "Detective Stone hit me because I presented him with facts he didn't want to hear. He called me names because he thinks his badge gives him the right to treat people badly, and he did it all in public because he believed there would be no consequences." Dr. Richardson turned back to Judge Morrison. "Your Honor, I am requesting exactly 4 minutes to present the evidence I have gathered about Detective Stone's pattern of misconduct. This evidence will show that what happened today was not an isolated incident. It was the inevitable result of a system that has allowed this officer to abuse his power for years without any real punishment." Judge Morrison looked around the packed courtroom. Every seat was full. People were standing along the walls. The news cameras were all pointed at Dr. Richardson. "Dr. Richardson," Judge Morrison said, "you have 4 minutes. But I want to warn everyone in this courtroom that what you are about to hear may be disturbing." Dr. Richardson opened her folder and pulled out more documents. Stone was now slumped in his chair, his face buried in his hands. His lawyer was trying to whisper something to him, but Stone was not listening. "Thank you, Your Honor," Dr. Richardson said. 4 minutes is all I need to show this court and this community who Detective Marcus Stone really is." The clock on the courtroom wall showed 11:47 a.m. In 4 minutes, it would be 11:51 a.m. By 11:51 a.m., Detective Stone's career would be over, and his life would never be the same. Dr. Richardson looked at the clock on the wall. 4 minutes. She had prepared for this moment for weeks, but she never thought it would happen like this. She had planned to present her evidence to a police oversight committee, not in a courtroom after being assaulted. But sometimes life gives you the perfect moment to seek justice. "Your Honor," Dr. Richardson began, her voice clear and strong. "My name is Dr. Amelia Richardson. I am a member of Parliament, but before that I was a civil rights lawyer for 10 years. I have spent the last 3 months investigating police misconduct in our city." She pulled out the first document from her folder. It was a police report with Detective Stone's name at the top. "This is a police report filed by Detective Stone on March 15th of this year. In this report, Detective Stone states that he arrested David Chen, a 24-year-old college student, for drug possession. Detective Stone wrote that Mr. Chen was carrying 2 bags of marijuana and resisted arrest." Dr. Richardson held up a second document. "This is the laboratory report on the substances Detective Stone claimed were drugs. The laboratory found that both bags contained oregano from a grocery store." People in the courtroom started whispering. Judge Morrison hit his wooden hammer to make them quiet. "Your Honor," Dr. Richardson continued, "I have David Chen's medical records from the hospital. Mr. Chen suffered a dislocated shoulder, a black eye, and cuts on his face during his arrest for carrying oregano." Stone's lawyer tried to stand up, but Judge Morrison waved him back down. Dr. Richardson pulled out more papers. "I also have a receipt from the grocery store where David Chen worked. The receipt shows he bought oregano for the restaurant where he was taking the seasoning for his shift that night. David Chen was beaten and arrested for taking oregano to work." She looked directly at Stone, who was still sitting with his face in his hands. Detective Stone never changed his report even after the laboratory results came back. David Chen spent 2 days in jail before the charges were dropped. He lost his job because he missed work. He had to drop out of college because he could not afford the tuition without his job. Dr. Richardson moved to her next document. The courtroom was completely silent now. Even the news reporters had stopped writing and were just listening. This is a police report from Detective Stone dated January 8th of this year. Detective Stone arrested Maria Santos, a 35-year-old mother of 3, for stealing a purse from a department store. She held up a photograph. This is Maria Santos after her arrest. Detective Stone claimed that Ms. Santos fought him and tried to run away. The photograph showed a woman with 2 black eyes and a bandaged arm. Your Honor, I have the security video from the department store. The video shows Maria Santos paying for items at the cash register with her own credit card. She never stole anything. She never fought with anyone. She never tried to run away. Dr. Richardson paused for a moment. Maria Santos was shopping for her daughter's birthday present when Detective Stone arrested her in the parking lot. He said she matched the description of someone who had stolen a purse. But the security video shows the real thief was a white woman who was 6 inches taller than Maria. She pulled out another document. Maria Santos spent 6 hours in jail before someone checked the store's security video. She was released without charges, but she still has nerve damage in her left arm from how tightly Detective Stone put the handcuffs on her. The courtroom was getting restless. People were shifting in their seats. Some were shaking their heads in disbelief. Others were staring at Detective Stone with disgust. Dr. Richardson looked at the clock again. 2 minutes left, Your Honor. I have 12 more cases exactly like these. Cases where Detective Stone filed false reports, planted evidence, or used excessive force against innocent people. Cases where people were hurt badly for crimes they did not commit. She pulled out a thick stack of photographs. These are pictures of Detective Stone's victims. Men and women, young and old. All of them black or Hispanic. All of them injured by an officer who was supposed to protect them. Dr. Richardson walked closer to where Stone was sitting. He finally looked up at her. His eyes were red and scared. Detective Stone, she said, looking right at him. You have spent years hurting innocent people. You have filed false reports. You have planted evidence. You have beaten people who were not fighting you. And you have done all of this because you believed no one would stop you. Stone opened his mouth to say something, but no words came out. Your Honor, Dr. Richardson said, turning back to the judge, I have one more piece of evidence that I think the court should see. She reached into her briefcase and pulled out a small recording device. 3 weeks ago, I visited Detective Stone's precinct as part of my oversight duties. I recorded my conversations with several officers, including Detective Stone's partner, Detective Johnson. Stone's eyes went wide. He looked over at Detective Johnson, who was sitting in the back of the courtroom. Johnson's face was pale. Dr. Richardson pressed a button on the recording device. Detective Johnson's voice filled the courtroom, clear and loud. Stone's out of control, Johnson's recorded voice said. He plants drugs on people all the time. He's got a bag of marijuana in his locker that he uses when he wants to arrest someone, but doesn't have a real reason. The courtroom exploded with noise. People were shouting and gasping. Judge Morrison hit his hammer over and over to restore order. There's more, Dr. Richardson said when the room got quiet again. Johnson's voice continued on the recording. Last month, Stone beat up this old man who was just walking his dog. The man didn't do anything wrong, but Stone said he looked suspicious. Stone wrote in his report that the man tried to attack him with the dog leash. That was a complete lie. Dr. Richardson looked at the clock. 1 minute left. Your Honor, she said. Detective Johnson also told me that other officers in their unit have been afraid to report Stone's behavior because Stone has threatened them. He told them that if they spoke up, he would make sure they lost their jobs. She pulled out one final document. This is a letter from Captain Williams, Detective Stone's supervisor. In this letter, Captain Williams admits that he has known about Detective Stone's problems for over 2 years. But instead of stopping Stone or reporting him to internal affairs, Captain Williams covered up the complaints and transferred Stone to different neighborhoods. Dr. Richardson closed her folder and looked directly at Judge Morrison. Your Honor, Detective Stone did not just assault me today. He revealed exactly who he has always been, a man who believes his badge gives him the right to hurt anyone who challenges him, a man who thinks he is above the law he is supposed to enforce. She touched the red mark on her cheek, which was now turning purple. What Detective Stone did to me today, he has done to dozens of innocent people over the past few years. The only difference is that I have the power to fight back. His other victims did not. Dr. Richardson looked at the clock one more time. 4 minutes were up. Your Honor, I am not just here as a victim of Detective Stone's assault. I am here as a representative of every person he has wronged, every family he has hurt, and every community member who has lost faith in the police because of officers like him. She closed her briefcase and stepped back. The evidence I have presented today shows a clear pattern of criminal behavior by Detective Stone. I respectfully request that this court take immediate action to ensure that Detective Stone can never hurt another innocent person again. The courtroom was completely silent for several seconds. Then Judge Morrison spoke. Dr. Richardson, thank you for your statement. Bailiff, please call the district attorney's office immediately, and someone call the FBI. Detective Stone finally understood what had just happened to him. Dr. Richardson had not just presented evidence of police misconduct. She had presented evidence of federal crimes. His career was over. His freedom was about to end. And it had all happened in exactly 4 minutes. Judge Morrison was looking through the documents Dr. Richardson had given him. His face grew more serious with each page he read. The courtroom remained completely quiet. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. Dr. Richardson, Judge Morrison said, these are very serious accusations. You're saying Detective Stone has committed federal crimes? Yes, Your Honor, Dr. Richardson replied. When a police officer violates someone's civil rights under the color of law, that becomes a federal crime. Detective Stone has done this many times. She opened her briefcase again and pulled out a different folder. This one was even thicker than the first. Your Honor, I need to share something else with the court. For the past month, I have been working with the FBI's Civil Rights Division. They asked me to gather evidence about police misconduct in our city. Detective Stone lifted his head and stared at Dr. Richardson with shock and terror. She was not just a politician who happened to be in court today. She was a federal investigator. The FBI has been investigating Detective Stone's unit for 6 months, Dr. Richardson continued. They started their investigation after receiving multiple complaints from citizens who said local authorities would not listen to their concerns about police brutality. She pulled out an official-looking document with the FBI seal at the top. This is a federal warrant for Detective Stone's arrest. It was signed yesterday by a federal judge. The FBI was planning to arrest Detective Stone next week, but what happened here today has changed their timeline. Stone's lawyer, Mr. Davis, finally stood up. His face was white and his hands were shaking. Your Honor, Davis said in a weak voice, I need to speak with my client privately. This is not what we expected. Sit down, Mr. Davis, Judge Morrison said firmly. Dr. Richardson is not finished. Dr. Richardson pulled out more papers from the FBI folder. Your Honor, the federal investigation has found evidence that Detective Stone and several other officers in his unit have been running what investigators call a criminal enterprise within the police department. She read from one of the documents. According to FBI investigators, Detective Stone has been planting drugs on innocent people, stealing money and property during arrests, filing false police reports, and intimidating witnesses who might testify against him. The news reporters were writing as fast as they could. This was no longer just a story about a police officer slapping a politician. This was a story about federal crime and corruption. The FBI has also discovered that Detective Stone has been working with drug dealers, Dr. Richardson continued. He would arrest some dealers and let others go free in exchange for money. He has been taking bribes for over 3 years. Stone finally found his voice. That's not true, he shouted, jumping up from his chair. I never took bribes. I'm not a criminal. The security guards grabbed Stone's arms and pushed him back into his chair. Detective Stone, Dr. Richardson said, looking at him calmly. The FBI has recordings of your phone calls with drug dealers. They have photographs of you meeting with known criminals. They have bank records showing deposits into your personal account that do not match your police salary. Stone's mouth opened, but no sound came out. He looked like he was going to be sick. Dr. Richardson turned back to Judge Morrison. Your Honor, the FBI investigation has also revealed that Detective Stone's supervisors knew about his criminal activity and did nothing to stop it. Captain Williams and Lieutenant Rodriguez have both been taking money to protect Detective Stone. She held up more documents. The FBI has evidence that the corruption in Detective Stone's unit goes all the way up to the Deputy Chief of Police. This is not just about one bad officer. This is about a criminal organization operating inside our police department. People in the courtroom were whispering and gasping. Some were taking pictures with their phones. Others were shaking their heads in disbelief. "Dr. Richardson," Judge Morrison said, "why are you telling us this now? Why didn't the FBI arrest these officers before today?" "Your Honor, the FBI was gathering more evidence to make sure their case was complete. They wanted to arrest everyone involved at the same time so no one could warn the others or destroy evidence." She paused and looked at Stone again. "But what Detective Stone did to me today shows that he is dangerous and out of control. The FBI cannot wait any longer." Dr. Richardson reached into her briefcase one more time. She pulled out a cell phone. "Your Honor, I need to make a phone call." She dialed a number and put the phone to her ear. The courtroom was so quiet that everyone could hear her side of the conversation. "Agent Martinez? This is Dr. Richardson. Yes, I'm at the courthouse now. Detective Stone just assaulted me in front of dozens of witnesses. Yes, I have it all documented. I think you need to move now." She listened for a moment, then spoke again. "How long will it take you to get here?" 15 minutes? Good. Yes, I'll make sure he doesn't leave." Dr. Richardson ended the call and looked at Judge Morrison. "Your Honor, FBI agents are on their way to arrest Detective Stone. They will be here in 15 minutes. Stone tried to stand up again, but the security guards were ready for him. They held him firmly in his chair. "I want a lawyer," Stone shouted. "I want a different lawyer." "Mr. Davis, you're fired." Mr. Davis was already packing up his papers. "I can't represent you in a federal case, Marcus. You need a criminal defense attorney who handles FBI cases." Dr. Richardson was not finished. She pulled out one more document. "Your Honor, there's something else the court should know. The FBI investigation discovered that Detective Stone has been targeting specific communities. 93% of his arrests over the past 3 years have been African American or Hispanic citizens." She showed the document to Judge Morrison. "FBI analysts have determined that this pattern cannot be explained by normal police work. Detective Stone has been deliberately targeting people based on their race. That's called racial profiling, and it's a violation of federal civil rights law. Detective Stone faces charges of civil rights violations, conspiracy, bribery, evidence tampering, and filing false police reports." Stone was now crying. Tears were running down his face. His entire career, his reputation, and his future were being destroyed in front of a courtroom full of people. "Each of these charges carries a prison sentence," Dr. Richardson continued. "If Detective Stone is convicted of all charges, he could spend 25 to 30 years in federal prison." She closed her folder and looked around the courtroom. "Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, what you have witnessed today is not just about one corrupt police officer. This is about a system that allowed corruption to grow and spread because good people did not speak up." Dr. Richardson touched the bruise on her cheek again. "Detective Stone hit me because he thought I was just another person he could intimidate into silence. He was wrong." Outside the courtroom, the sound of sirens was getting louder. The FBI was almost there. "Your Honor," Dr. Richardson said, "I have one final request. I ask that the court order Detective Stone to remain here until the FBI agents arrive. He is a flight risk and a danger to the community." Judge Morrison nodded. "Bailiff, Detective Stone is not to leave this courtroom under any circumstances." The sirens were very loud now. Through the courtroom windows, people could see black FBI cars pulling up in front of the courthouse. Detective Marcus Stone's 22-year career as a police officer was about to end. His new career as a federal prisoner was about to begin, and Dr. Amelia Richardson had made it all happen in less than 10 minutes. The heavy courtroom doors opened with a loud bang. 6 FBI agents walked in, wearing dark suits and serious expressions. The lead agent was a tall Hispanic woman with short black hair. She looked around the room until she saw Dr. Richardson. "Dr. Richardson?" the agent called out. "Yes, Agent Martinez," Dr. Richardson replied. "Detective Stone is right there." Agent Martinez walked over to where Stone was sitting. She pulled out a pair of handcuffs and a folded paper. "Detective Marcus Stone," Agent Martinez said in a clear, official voice, "I have a federal warrant for your arrest." Stone looked up at her with red, scared eyes. "Please," he whispered. "I have a family. I have children." "So do the people you hurt," Agent Martinez replied. She began reading from a card in her pocket. "Marcus Stone, You are under arrest for violation of civil rights under color of law, conspiracy to commit civil rights violations, bribery, evidence tampering, filing false police reports, and racketeering. The handcuffs clicked as Agent Martinez put them on Stone's wrists. The sound echoed through the silent courtroom. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. Stone was crying again. I never meant for any of this to happen. I was just doing my job. Your job was to protect and serve the community, Agent Martinez said. Instead, you terrorized innocent people for years. 2 other FBI agents helped Stone stand up. His legs were shaking so badly he could hardly walk. The agents had to hold his arms to keep him from falling down. Judge Morrison watched as the FBI agents prepared to take Stone away. Agent Martinez, the judge said, what happens now? Your Honor, Detective Stone will be taken to the federal courthouse for his initial hearing. The other officers involved in this conspiracy will be arrested today as well. She looked around the crowded courtroom. I want everyone here to know that the FBI takes police corruption very seriously. We will continue investigating until every corrupt officer is brought to justice. Dr. Richardson stepped forward. Agent Martinez, will the victims of Detective Stone's crimes be notified? Yes, Dr. Richardson. We have victim advocates who will contact everyone who was hurt by Detective Stone's actions. They will be told about their rights and how they can seek compensation for their injuries. Agent Martinez turned to Stone one more time. Detective Stone, you have destroyed the trust between the police and the community. You have made the job harder for every honest police officer in this city, and you have ruined your own life and the lives of your family members. Stone did not look at her. He was staring at the floor, crying quietly. But worst of all, Agent Martinez continued, you hurt innocent people. People who trusted you because you wore a badge. People who called you for help and instead got beaten and arrested for crimes they didn't commit. The FBI agent started walking Stone toward the door. People in the courtroom moved out of the way to let them pass. Some people were taking pictures and videos with their phones. As Stone walked by Dr. Richardson, he stopped and looked at her. The bruise on her cheek was now dark purple and very noticeable. I'm sorry, Stone said quietly. Dr. Richardson looked at him for a long moment. Detective Stone, I'm not the person you should apologize to. You should apologize to David Chen, who was beaten for carrying oregano to work. You should apologize to Maria Santos, who was arrested for shopping for her daughter's birthday present. You should apologize to Marcus Washington and all the other people whose lives you ruined. Stone nodded and continued walking toward the door. And Detective Stone, Dr. Richardson called after him, you should apologize to all the good police officers whose reputation you have damaged. The FBI agents led Stone out of the courtroom. The heavy doors closed behind them with a loud thud. Judge Morrison hit his wooden hammer on the desk. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have witnessed today is both terrible and inspiring. Terrible, because we have learned about serious crimes committed by someone who was supposed to protect us. Inspiring because we have seen how one person's courage can bring justice for many victims. He looked directly at Dr. Richardson. Dr. Richardson, your bravery today has served not just yourself, but your entire community. The courtroom erupted in applause. People were standing up and clapping. Some were cheering. Dr. Richardson smiled slightly, but she looked tired. Thank you, Your Honor, she said. But this is just the beginning. We need to make sure that what happened with Detective Stone never happens again. A news reporter raised her hand. Dr. Richardson, how long have you been investigating police corruption? I've been working on police reform since I became an MP 3 months ago. But I've been fighting police brutality since I was a civil rights lawyer 10 years ago. Another reporter called out. What will happen to the other officers who were involved? The FBI will arrest them today, Dr. Richardson replied. Captain Williams, Lieutenant Rodriguez, and Detective Johnson will all face federal charges. The deputy chief of police has already resigned. Dr. Richardson, a third reporter asked, how do you feel about what Detective Stone did to you? Dr. Richardson touched her bruised cheek. I feel sad that it happened, but I also feel grateful that it happened in front of so many witnesses, because now Detective Stone can't deny what kind of person he really is. She picked up her briefcase and headed toward the door. Detective Stone made a big mistake when he hit me. He thought I was just another victim he could silence. Instead, he gave me the perfect opportunity to show everyone the evidence I had been gathering against him. As Dr. Richardson walked toward the exit, people in the courtroom continued clapping. Some reached out to shake her hand or pat her shoulder. The news reporters followed her, asking more questions. Outside the courthouse, more FBI agents were arresting other police officers. Captain Williams was being led to an FBI car in handcuffs. Detective Johnson was arguing with agents, claiming he was just following orders. Dr. Richardson stood on the courthouse steps and looked at all the activity. Police cars, FBI cars, and news vans filled the street. Reporters were interviewing people who had witnessed the arrests. "Dr. Richardson," a young reporter called out, "what's next for police reform in our city?" Dr. Richardson smiled. For the first time all day, it was a real, happy smile. "What's next," she said, "is that we're going to build a police department that actually serves and protects everyone in our community. We're going to have real oversight, real accountability, and real consequences for officers who break the law." She looked back at the courthouse where Detective Stone had just been arrested. Detective Stone thought he was untouchable. He thought his badge protected him from justice. Today he learned that no one is above the law. As Dr. Richardson walked to her car, she could hear the news reporters already starting their live broadcasts. This is Channel 7 News at the courthouse, where FBI agents have just arrested Detective Marcus Stone and several other police officers on federal corruption charges. The arrest came after the detective assaulted Member of Parliament Dr. Amelia Richardson during a court hearing. Dr. Richardson got in her car and drove away. She had work to do. There were more police officers to investigate, more victims to help, and more reforms to fight for. Detective Stone's arrest was just the beginning. 3 months later, Dr. Amelia Richardson sat in the same courthouse where Detective Stone had assaulted her. But today she was not there as a victim. She was there to watch justice being served. The courtroom was packed again, just like it had been on that dramatic day in September. News reporters filled the front rows. Citizens who had been victims of police brutality sat with their families. FBI agents sat in the back watching their case come to an end. Detective Marcus Stone sat at the defendant's table wearing an orange prison jumpsuit instead of his blue police uniform. His hands were handcuffed in front of him. His face looked thin and pale. 3 months in federal jail had changed him. Stone's new lawyer, Ms. Patricia Wong, was one of the best criminal defense attorneys in the state. But even she could not help Stone very much. The evidence against him was too strong. Judge Patricia Miller, a federal judge, was handling Stone's sentencing hearing. She had reviewed all the evidence, read all the victim statements, and listened to weeks of testimony. "Mr. Stone," Judge Miller said in a serious voice, "please stand for sentencing." Stone stood up slowly. His legs were shaking. Ms. Wong stood beside him. "Mr. Stone, you have pleaded guilty to 14 federal charges, including civil rights violations, conspiracy, bribery, evidence tampering, and racketeering. These are very serious crimes." Judge Miller looked through a thick stack of papers on her desk. "I have read statements from 23 victims of your crimes. I have reviewed the FBI's evidence showing you took over $40,000 in bribes. I have seen the security videos of you planting drugs on innocent people." Stone kept his eyes on the floor. He could not look at the judge or at the people in the courtroom. "Mr. Stone, your crimes have caused immeasurable harm to individuals, families, and the entire community. You violated the trust that citizens place in police officers. You used your badge to terrorize innocent people instead of protecting them." Dr. Richardson was sitting in the third row, watching quietly. The bruise on her face had healed months ago, but she would never forget what Stone had done to her and to so many others. "However," Judge Miller continued, "I also consider the fact that you have pleaded guilty and expressed remorse for your actions. Your cooperation with the FBI investigation has helped bring other corrupt officers to justice." Stone's lawyer had advised him to cooperate with the FBI. In exchange for his help, the prosecutors had agreed not to seek the maximum sentence. "Mr. Stone, the prosecution has recommended a sentence of 20 years in federal prison. Your defense attorney has asked for 10 years. I have considered both recommendations." The courtroom was completely silent. Everyone was waiting to hear how long Stone would spend in prison. "Mr. Stone, I sentence you to 15 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. You will also pay restitution of $200,000 to your victims." Stone's knees buckled. Ms. Wong had to grab his arm to keep him from falling down. 15 years meant Stone would be nearly 60 years old when he got out of prison. Furthermore, Judge Miller said. "You are permanently banned from working in law enforcement in any capacity. You will never be allowed to carry a firearm or wear a badge again." Stone started crying. His wife, who was sitting in the back of the courtroom, was crying too. Their 2 children would grow up while their father was in prison, but Dr. Richardson felt no sympathy for Stone. She thought about David Chen, who still had nerve damage in his shoulder from Stone's beating. She thought about Maria Santos, who was afraid to go shopping alone because of what Stone had done to her. She thought about Marcus Washington, who had nightmares about being arrested for no reason. Judge Miller was not finished. "Mr. Stone, I want you to understand something. Police officers have tremendous power and responsibility. Citizens trust you with their safety and their lives. When you abuse that trust, you don't just hurt your victims, you make every honest police officer's job more difficult." She looked around the courtroom at all the people who had come to watch Stone's sentencing. The community's faith in law enforcement has been damaged by your actions and the actions of other corrupt officers. It will take years to rebuild that trust. Judge Miller hit her wooden hammer on the desk. "This court is adjourned." FBI agents came forward to take Stone back to prison. As they led him away, some people in the courtroom clapped. Others just watched silently. Dr. Richardson stayed in her seat until most people had left. Then she walked to the front of the courtroom where several reporters were waiting. Dr. Richardson, a reporter from Channel 7 News, said, "How do you feel about Detective Stone's sentence?" "I think 15 years is fair," Dr. Richardson replied. "It sends a message that police officers who break the law will face serious consequences." Dr. Richardson, another reporter asked, "What has happened to the police reform legislation you were working on?" Dr. Richardson smiled. "The Police Accountability and Reform Act passed last month with overwhelming support. It creates independent oversight of police departments, requires body cameras for all officers, and establishes harsh penalties for officers who violate citizens' rights." She pulled a folded newspaper from her briefcase and showed it to the reporters. The headline read, "City Council approves new police oversight board." "We now have civilian oversight of our police department," Dr. Richardson explained. "Citizens can file complaints directly with the oversight board instead of going through the police department's internal affairs division." "Has the new law made a difference?" a reporter asked. "In the 3 months since Detective Stone was arrested, complaints against police officers have decreased by 60%. Use of force incidents are down by 40%. And citizen satisfaction with police services has improved significantly." Dr. Richardson looked back toward the door where Stone had been taken away. Detective Stone's crimes were terrible, but they led to positive changes that will protect citizens for years to come. A young reporter raised her hand. "Dr. Richardson, do you ever regret going to court that day? If you hadn't been there, Detective Stone might never have assaulted you." Dr. Richardson thought for a moment before answering. "If I hadn't been there that day, Detective Stone would still be on the streets, still hurting innocent people. His assault on me was terrible, but it gave us the opportunity to expose his crimes and bring him to justice." She touched her cheek where Stone had hit her. "Sometimes good things come from bad situations." Detective Stone thought he was silencing me, but instead he gave me the platform I needed to speak for all his victims. As the reporters finished their questions, Dr. Richardson walked outside the courthouse. The same steps where she had spoken to reporters 3 months ago were now covered with flowers and signs. Citizens had left thank you notes and expressions of support. One sign read, "Thank you, Dr. Richardson, for fighting for justice." Another said, "You gave us our voice back." Dr. Richardson read several of the notes. Many were from people who had been victims of police brutality, but had been afraid to speak up. Stone's arrest had encouraged them to come forward and tell their stories. 3 months after Detective Stone slapped her in the courthouse hallway, Dr. Richardson had kept her promise. She had used that terrible moment to create positive change for her entire community. Detective Stone was in prison. The corrupt officers who worked with him were also behind bars. A new police oversight system was in place, and citizens felt safer knowing that there were real consequences for police officers who broke the law. Dr. Richardson got in her car and drove back to her office. She had more work to do. There were other cities that needed police reform. There were other victims who needed someone to fight for them. Detective Stone had thought he could intimidate her into silence. Instead, He had created one of the strongest voices for police reform in the country. As Dr. Richardson drove through the city, she saw police officers walking their beats and talking with citizens. She saw community meetings where residents and officers worked together to solve problems. She saw the positive changes that had come from that terrible day in court. Detective Marcus Stone's career had ended in disgrace and prison, but his downfall had led to something much more important: a police department that truly served and protected everyone in the community. Justice had been served, and the community was better for it.